Hey, Sean here with SpeedCubeReview.com. So today let's go over some F2L tips. Now this is one of the things I get most questions on. Many people know what F2L is and how to do it, but they're having trouble on how to do it fast. So let's go over a couple things. The first thing is to just do some slow solves. You want to be able to look around the cube as you're solving it, and sometimes moving really fast makes it hard to look around. So for example, I'm just going to mix up the cube randomly. Okay, so first let's take care of the cross. Well, this is a really easy cross. And as I do that, I can see that this green and orange is set up nicely. And as I'm doing that, I can already see this green and red right here and here. And as I'm setting that one up, I'm looking at this blue and red. And as I do that, I want to look for the blue and orange. I see the corner's already in there. And then I have the OLL and PLL. So some of the ways I solve those F2L pairs are just ones I figured out in time, which brings me to my next point. Just mess around with the cube. Sometimes you'll find different ways of solving pairs than you wouldn't normally do. So a couple examples. First one would be, when you have this, the most obvious thing to do is just insert it. But you could also, with it being here, do sledgehammer, which is R prime, F, R, F prime, and that inserts it as well. And when doing sledgehammer, it changes some things up top. And often I'll do that instead to preserve a pair or make something easier later on. Another example is when you have this. Now if we didn't have a pair in the back, most people would do this where you separate it and then put it in. But that messes up that pair in the back. So what many people do in this case is turn it, separate them, turn it again, and then insert it. But that is a lot of steps. So there was one of the times I was just messing around with the cube and I decided to see what would happen if I just inserted it intuitively as if there was no pair there and just see what happens to it. So after doing that, that pair that leaves here is just right there and is a really easy insertion. So a thing that doesn't seem very intuitive to do can actually be quite fast. Another thing is looking up algorithms that other people have come up with. Most of the time, you can figure these out on your own. For example, when you have the corner in place and this edge is here, what many people will do is what they did in layer by layer, where you move it out and then back in. One algorithm I fell upon from just messing around with the cube is when I have the corner here and the edge opposite colors, I would just insert it, take it back out, and then insert them together. It can feel like a lot of moves, but it helps not rotate the cube at all. There was one thing I learned from a video by Chris Olsen, where when you have it here, that you can just do this algorithm, where it's R prime, U prime, R prime, U prime, R prime, U, R, U, R. What I just think of is that that edge goes down, top layer towards it, down, top layer towards it, down, and then away, up, away, up. The reason I think of it like that is because when you have the same situation from, let's say, the back, it's a lot easier for my brain to sort of reverse the moves to put that in. Which brings me to my last point. You should be able to solve pairs from all sides and not just the front. If you're constantly turning the cube so you can solve all the pairs in the front, it's going to make things really slow. Now, it's not going to completely ruin solves, because there was even a solve where Felix Zemdegs turns the entire cube 180 degrees, and he still had a sub 7-second solve. But usually solves where you rotate the cube as little as possible end up being the fastest. So besides just being able to do an insertion like this, as well as like that, or like this, and this, being able to do algorithms from all angles. Now it will slow things down at first. That's pretty much a given. But being able to do that later on will make things so much faster. Besides doing slow solves, trying things out on your own that might not be intuitive, looking up some algorithms, and be able to do things on all sides of the cube There's really not much more to that. When you look at the top SpeedCubers, they're not really doing that much different. Most of the time, they're just doing what you or I would do, but really fast. So you might ask, how do they do it really fast? And that's just with time. Think of people who can type really fast. Often they're not even looking at their fingers and can type entire words without thinking of what letters they're typing. I've played violin for almost 20 years, and sometimes my students are amazed at how fast my fingers can move. I'm not doing anything special, it's just from time and practice that this has happened. If you have any thoughts or tips, please leave them in the comment section below. Please like and subscribe for more content like this in the future, and as always, stop by speedcubereview.com for more news and reviews.